Good evening, Pastor Sir. Is the devil powerless against the believer?
Okay, is the devil powerless against the believer? Well, the truth of the matter is that by reason of what Christ has done, Satan has no authority over the believer. That's the truth. Because by reason of the redemptive work of Jesus, sin was dealt with, and we're also delivered from the kingdom of darkness. Colossians 1 verse 13 spoke about that. He said he was actually delivered us from the power of darkness and has translated us unto the kingdom of his dear son. So by reason of the redemptive sacrifice of Jesus, right, we have been delivered from the kingdom of darkness. We have authority. Rather, we're not under the authority of the devil. So Satan has no legal rights over the believer at all. But then, of course, the devil with David is actually a trespasser. Satan is actually a rebel, right? So even though he has no authority against the believer, he still tries to, attack the believer. He tries to do harm to the believer. Because the fact that he doesn't have authority doesn't mean he doesn't have power to do things. The Bible does not in any way deny that Satan has power. When I see some believers who try to say some things about the devil, and they say Satan has no power, he's inconsequential, that is not the wholesome statement. Because the devil we're up against, if he's an inconsequential being, wouldn't have been told to be sober, be vigilant. You understand? Because that's what Peter told us in 1 Peter 5:8. He said, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walks about seeking whom he may devour. So Satan has power to devour. It does. If he doesn't have power to devour, we would not have been told to be vigilant. It is because he has the power to do so, even though he doesn't have the authority to do so, but he has the power. Because power is actually ability. Authority is right. He doesn't have the right, but being who he is, as a trespasser, as a rebel, so he goes against authority, he tries to maneuver his ways to destroy, to kill, to devour. And so the devil actually has power, right? And sadly, sometimes he can actually use it against the believer. If the believer is not vigilant, is not sober, is not smart enough, discerning to understand the wiles of the devil and resist the devil and check him out when necessary. Because there's something Paul told us in 2 Corinthians 2 verse 11. He said, we are not ignorant of Satan's devices, lest he takes advantage of us. So Satan is not actually a casual being. Even after redemption, after Christ's death, Satan is actually still consequential in the scheme of things. But if you play casual with Satan, then you can come back with some injuries. And so it's important that we understand this balance, because I've seen some believers who just take off, with some half-truth, and in their mind they think Satan is of no consequence. And the Bible does not in any way suggest that. In fact, Ephesians 6 verse 10 told us, finally, brethren, be strong in the Lord and the power of his might. 11 said, put on the whole armor of God, but be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Do you understand? The Satan actually has devices, strategies, with which he executes his counsel, he executes his agenda, his intent against the believer that could lead to destruction and what have you. And so Satan, yes, he knows how to engage his power, right, to do things, sometimes against the believer, many times. Yeah, we've seen believers who have been victims, of the wiles of the devil, right, the devouring ministry, quote unquote, of the devil. And so it's important that the believer is well armed, and of course is also not ignorant of the devices of the devil, because ignorance is actually not something to play with. In fact, ignorance is not harmless. It has consequences. If you're ignorant of the devil's devices, you'll be met with some kind of destructions. Satan may take advantage of it. That's what he does. He takes advantage of people because he's a smart guy. Call him anything, call him wicked, call him anything, but don't call Satan a fool. The guy has some sense. And that's why we're told that we must be sober. Or rather, Ephesians 6:13, he said, wherefore we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in heavenly places. It says, wherefore take the whole armor of God that may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. That word wise there, I think that is in verse 11. That should be verse 11 of verse 12, Ephesians 6. And that word wise there speaks of the strategies, the devices of the enemy. Because Satan is actually very big on strategy. The guy has some bit of wisdom. He knows how to get his job done. Do you understand? He knows how to get the job done. And that's why the believer must not be naive or ignorant of the wiles of the devil. Do you understand? And so that if Satan has power over the believer, he doesn't have power over the believer, but he can exercise power against the believer. That's the truth. He doesn't have power over the believer, but he can exercise power against the believer because he has power. He can devour. And sometimes, the way he does his thing is not such that you can really tell it's the one doing it. In fact, that's why Paul, I think, told us that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, because the way the devil works for the most part, if you're not careful, you start fighting man, all right, instead of the devil himself. And many things that happens to us that people do against us, that is not actually them, as it were. That is the real deal. They are just the face of the entire attack, but the underlying influence is Satan. Usually Satan likes to, or the realm of the spirit, basically, spirit beings, they like to work anonymously. They like to operate using the face of man. That applies to angels and even demons. Right? There's this anonymous operational system that is actually very common with spirit beings. And so they're doing something, but then usually they work through human method and mediums to get the job done. You understand? And that's why the believer must be discerning and must be well equipped with God's word, with truth, so that they can discern when the devil is in operation, all right, and give him no rest. Yes, because Satan ought to be rebuked, ought to be dealt with every now and again. James 4:7 told us to resist the devil and he will flee from us. Satan wants rest. One time I was sitting in church and I told them, that as much as we bless God and give thanks to God and exalt God, we must also try as much as we can to curse Satan, to judge him, to just cast him out every now and again, as much as you can. All right. I think it's actually a noble thing to always just say some amazing things about him, consistent with what God has said about him. He's fallen, right? He's actually defeated. You understand? And you must actually, as a believer, make it a point of duty to always check out Satan. Give him no rest. Because if you do give him any space, he will take spaces. He's an opportunist. If you give him a chance, he will take chances. Do you understand? And so you must learn the habit of always, and this is not you being demon conscious, but just being authority conscious. There are two different things. So when I resist Satan, when I give him no place, right? Ephesians 4, I think verse 26 spoke about that. Give no place to Satan. When I give him no place, I'm actually not being demon conscious. I'm rather being authority conscious. Because Satan actually wants to have rest. Matthew 12:43, he said, when an unclean spirit is being checked out, right, he actually goes out looking for where to find rest. Right. And he returns back again with several other strong demons. And if he comes and sees the place garnished and well cleaned up, he comes and makes that place his abode. And we're told that the eventual state of the man will become worse than the initial state of the fellow. So because the demon spirit likes rest and they like to stay unchecked, stay without being disturbed. But the believer must actually not be demon conscious, but be authority conscious, to charge at the devil, to resist him as much as you can, to stand against him. Do you understand? Now, some of us watched the altercation that happened lately between this this military guy, all right, and a dear minister in our country, who was almost being intimidated because yes, he's a minister, all right, and he's actually a young military officer. And we saw what happened actually, how the military officer refused to shift grounds because he was taking orders from his superior. Right, the superior has said something concerning the matter, and he refused to succumb and yield to the oppression, or rather the intimidation of the minister. Now, whether he's right or wrong is not the less here. The point here is that, as a believer, you must know how to stand your ground, irrespective of the attacks, irrespective of the devices, irrespective of whatever the devil throws at you that could seem intimidating. You must learn to stand your ground, because God has declared you his son. God has declared the devil defeated. God has declared you exalted. Because the devil is an opportunist. He's a very smart guy. If you do not know how to stand your ground, all right, and resist him and check him out and put it where it belongs, he will take advantage of you. And it will be as though you were never exalted and was never defeated. But the truth is, you have been exalted. Ephesians 2 verse 6. And he has been defeated. Do you understand? But you see, if you are not well equipped with God's word, with truth concerning these things, then the devil will have you where he wants you, and of course he would take advantage of you. Because one thing Satan does, he knows how to do it very well, to take advantage of people's ignorance. And that's why ignorance, for the most part, is not harmless. It has dire consequences. The believer cannot afford to be ignorant of the devil's devices, else he will take advantage of him or her. God bless you.